Ian has moved on tonight after stamping an indelible mark of death and destruction across Florida.
It's looking like Hurricane Ian is one for the history books.
I stayed at Universal Studios during a hurricane. Now you might be asking me, Mitchell, why would you stay at Universal Studios when you know that there's gonna be a hurricane? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. I work there. I'm fortunate enough that my hotel had a list where they offered a room for us to stay throughout the hurricane as long as we agreed to work. So I said, sign me up. So I stayed at Sapphire Falls, a beautiful, lovely resort. And I stayed at Sapphire Falls Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. Now the hurricane was mostly on Wednesday night, but it did get a little bit bad on Thursday as well. So let's talk about this hurricane. Hurricane Ian was expected to hit the Tampa Bay area at a category 3 to 4. Now, I'd say it was probably more like a category 3, but I'm no weatherman, I'm no expert. By the time it got to Orlando, it was moving at 10 miles per hour from Tampa Bay, from the Gulf Coast at 10 miles per hour. By the time it got to Orlando, it was probably a category 1 to maybe 2. I'd say it's probably like a 1.5 category hurricane by the time it got to Orlando. So Hurricane Ian arrived at Orlando late at night on Wednesday, September 28th. Now, I was working. Obviously, I wasn't working throughout the night. So after I was off work, I gotta kind of look out the window and check things out for a little bit. And it looked pretty bad. Now, I did watch from my window and I saw as the hurricane moved in and the winds got stronger and stronger, the rain got harder and harder, and about 2 a.m. it was raining pretty bad and the winds were going absolutely crazy. Outside of my hotel room, I could just see the wind and all the water splashing against the window. It was actually pretty crazy, and I had never been in a hurricane, so I was pretty intrigued. So I think that this hurricane, by the time I got to Orlando, was about a category 1 or 2. Now, I'd say it's probably somewhere in the middle, like a 1.5. I'm no weather expert, I'm not a weatherman, so I could be wrong. But it felt like more than a category 1, but it didn't quite feel like a category 2. I could be wrong, but we did get about 10 to 12 inches of rain, and in some places probably close to 15. That's a lot of rain. Keep in mind, they announced, I believe on Tuesday night, that the theme parks would be closing for Wednesday and Thursday and possibly reopening on Friday. Now they've been doing slowly a partial reopening. I believe on Friday they partially reopened. I think that they opened City Walk on Friday and then they had Halloween Horror Nights Friday night. So the theme parks didn't really open on Friday, but they are open on Saturday, October 1st. Now keep in mind, at first it was just for hotel guests only. Halloween Horror Nights, they were only allowing hotel guests. They called it a phase reopening. Not all the rides would be open on October 1st, but they did try to keep as many rides open as they could. Thursday was not as bad as Wednesday night, but the winds and rain did continue throughout Thursday. Now, Wednesday night was definitely the most intense part of the hurricane. I remember waking up in my hotel room, looking out the window and seeing that there was a panel from the Jurassic Park ride that had been torn right off. Everyone was talking about it on Twitter. If you follow any people that go to the theme parks on Twitter, I'm sure that they showed pictures of this building right here, Jurassic Park, with the missing panel that was torn right off. Now this ride was built in the 90s, so it is an older building, so I could see why that would happen. On the other hand, when we woke up on Thursday morning, we were going straight into work, and a lot of people were like, did you hear that the Hulk sank? And I was like, what do you mean the Hulk sank? And they're like, the Hulk is underwater. The Hulk roller coaster is underwater. And I was like, there's no way that you are joking. But it's true. Part of the tracks of the Hulk ride went underwater. Now, if you're not familiar with the Hulk ride sits on a little lagoon, and part of the track actually goes underwater, but it goes through a tunnel. So obviously you're not gonna get wet. But that tunnel that goes underwater, the lagoon filled up with so much water that it started pouring into this tunnel, and it filled it all the way up so that the Hulk was technically underwater. Actually, it flooded. Like, this tunnel flooded, and the Hulk I have no idea when it's going to be able to reopen, but just so you know, if you're coming to Universal in the next few weeks, the Hulk probably not be running. As I said, I was working a lot during the hurricane, so I didn't really get very much footage, but my friend Austin did get some of the footage. It's the footage you have been seeing. Thank you, Austin, Lucky Leahy TV, for doing that for me. But I was working, and I worked actually pretty hard. As far as our hotel damages went, our hotel did have some flooding, and I definitely had to help stop that flooding. Me and all of the employees we were all scrambling around the hotel trying to stop the flooding. All the employees were working super hard. I cannot believe that we managed to stop all the flooding. It was actually pretty crazy to see our hotel flooding. There was a few ballrooms that flooded. There was a staircase that flooded. I do know that there was a path, the walking path from our hotel to Universal flooded really bad. And I'm talking about a foot of water. And I don't know how. It was flooded early Thursday morning, and by Friday morning, all the water was gone. Universal did a great job on draining all the water from the walking path. I don't know how they drained all the water. I assume they had some humps, but the walking path was dry Friday morning, which was crazy. So I worked on some of the flooded areas, and let me tell you, it was a lot of work. I mean, we had a squeegee, we had some shop vacs, we were getting all the water out. This was a staircase that flooded, and it had about 2 to 3 inches of rain, and that might not sound like a lot. When you have 2 to 3 inches inside a building, inside this staircase, and the entire floor was about 2 to 3 inches of rain, that's a lot of water. We had these shop vacs, and they had 10-gallon containers, and we would have to empty them out constantly. It took about 6 hours to get rid of all the flooding. Then, once we spotted that there was a leak in the floor, there was a few small leaks. So we spotted the leaks, and we had to cover them with sandbags, creating like a little wall, a little barrier. It was pretty crazy, but it was definitely a learning experience. Luckily, our hotel and our employees didn't have any catastrophic damages. There was no injuries, so we all got pretty lucky. As I said, this was my first hurricane, so it was kind of a big learning experience, and I was pretty intrigued. Now, I understand some people did have some damages done to their houses. A few houses flooded, so just keep in mind, just because we were okay and safe doesn't mean everyone was. So keep these people in your thoughts and prayers, whatever you want. I was super lucky, and I'm very grateful that I was a part of a company that provided for a place to stay throughout the hurricane. I'm currently in my apartment now, and it does have power, so I don't think I lost power here, but a lot of my friends lost power at their houses and apartments, so I was lucky to be in a safe place. I definitely felt extremely safe. They provided us with food, 3 meals a day. It was awesome. I got super lucky, and unfortunately I didn't get a lot of footage, as I said, because I was working. As always, thank you so much for watching today's video. I know it's a very short video, but this is what I was doing the past few days, so it was kind of hard to get a regular video out. So if you enjoyed this little short video, please leave me a like. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, maybe think about subscribing down below, because a subscription to my channel really helps me. I'm almost to 300 subscribers, guys, so please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I apologize, I don't have better content for today, and I promise next week's video will be Chef's Kiss. So thank you so much for watching today. Everyone stay safe. Thank you so much. I'll see you next week.